In this video, I will show you how to put together this 3D springtime cottage, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here are the pieces to the house, the little cottage. So we have the roof pieces, the front and back side panels, we have the vellum, and then these little pieces for the windows and the door. And this is the house pieces. So this is what we're going to work on first. These are the back pieces, the front pieces, and then the sides and roof. So we're going to do the roof a little bit later, so let's put that aside. So to give you an idea of what it looks like a little bit differently, here's the actual size. So this is different. This is one of my first versions of it. And I don't have the flowers with it, but you can put any flowers on it. Just give you ideas. You could put little bunny if you wanted to, that kind of thing, or make it more spring and put flowers. So this one, obviously, it's more like this in the file. I was going to put some flowers coming down, and I didn't quite like the look, so this is a little bit bigger now. So, and I was going to have a back opening, but I don't have a back opening. It opens on the top. So just you see little things that I refine as I go through. That's just normal, unfortunately, part of the process. I wasn't quite excited, but I know that people are out there and they know how to jazz up their houses. So that's the finished size. And here's a miniature version. So if you wanted to make it much simpler, you could just put the doors in the window frames like that, and then I did a colorful side panel and a back panel. So again, the lid just comes off like that. So this was something I kind of envisioned as it simpler than what I made it. This is just nice embossing folder on the front, that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and make the full-size version. So you can make that 75% or 80% smaller. And you kind of can see what size it's going to be. So let's go ahead and take these side pieces first. I'm going to put that up there. And I'm using Barely Art glue today. And this is American Crafts textured cardstock for this one. So we want to go ahead and fold these edges, or these sides, I should say. And I would recommend that you pre-fold all these. And if you need a little bone folder or something like that to do that, you can go like this. Make sure I don't get too close to there so you don't see my shirt. I'm wearing a sweatshirt because it's cold in the basement where I'm at right now. It's colder, not cold. And then here's the bottom piece and the other side. So once you get it all folded, so I have cut the score lines rather than a solid score line because it folds much easier. I would recommend that for most of my shaped items. I used to like solid score lines better, but not all machines can do that really well, so this is overall the easier way to do it. Sometimes you got to get a nice bend still because there's only one little dashed perforation there for these little tabs. So once you get these all folded, we're going to go ahead and put these two pieces together. So on this tab, I'm just going to go ahead and add some glue. And you want to take the side, not the big side, because that's the top. This little piece right here, and line it up. I like pre-folding it because it'll be easier to put together too, by the way. So you could connect these before you fold it. Gonna line this up, this edge right up to that fold or score. Flip it over, make sure it's all good and secure. Then we're going to start with this side. So my paper got a little bit faded from being on the edge of the sun, but this is going to be an inside panel. So we're going to go ahead and stick it in here. And it could be either side because they're, if you flip them over, just to show you here. If you flip them over, they are symmetrical. Double checking, by the way. So you could do it like that. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to just keep them the same way, but I'm showing that just in case. So I'm going to put the texture side on the outside. So I'm just going to add glue to this tab, and we're going to do this the same on both sides. So I'll probably go faster on the back side. The difference is when I do the back side, you won't be able to see the inside of where my hands are, but it's the same process. So if you go like this, we're going to line this up to the inside fold there. And what I'm paying attention to is that these two edges, these two corners, see, I just moved them. These two corners line up to the tab, the left and right of the tab. And a good way to try that is just to fold it up and then push it down when the glue is still a little bit wet. You can see that. So if you're a smidgen off, it's not going to make a huge difference, but that's your goal. That's the goal. So we're going to go ahead and glue one side of the tabs on now. So I'm going to do about half glue on about half the tabs here. And you could do all of them if you're really good at doing that. And we're just going to fold it under like that. Starting at right here, we're going to go ahead and make sure you start where we glued it on, and then as you push in from the side, I'm just angling it so you can see it better. Let me flip those up. You're pushing in so this edge lines up to the inside tab fold, like that. So once we get these first couple ones, we can go ahead and finish by gluing the rest of them. So you can see I'm just placing glue on them. Then I'm going to continue doing the same thing. Let's go like that. And you can see right in there, I'm pushing it up, trying to make sure there's no gap right here, right there. So this lines up to the edge. So this top tab came off because I just moved it. Let's see if I need to add glue to it. Because typically when you get up here, it's easy enough not to push it all the way in. But there it is. So on the other side, we're going to do it all at once. It's going to add glue to all these little tabs here. I do like the little tip on this little Barely Art glue bottle. It makes it easy for me to do this kind of thing. So make sure, if you're a slow crafter, which I'm typically slow, but I can do these pretty quick, you want to make sure if you add as much glue to the tabs before it dries, so you can make sure you can get it done before the glue dries. So you can see I'm starting at the bottom here. And I'm just going to slide it under. And I'm not applying pressure to the other ones yet. They're just kind of going up to get them in place, and then I'll go over again with my fingertips. Just making sure it's pushed in, and then I can go all the way down again. Always make sure that top one is pushed in, because that's the one that's more likely to not glue flush. So we're going to do that on the other side. The difference is that you won't be able to see it as well. So, but it's the same steps. So you're going to get it in the light that you need to do it. So I'm just going to line this up to the tab fold again. Oops, that's not the one I want to use. Okay, we want to use this one. So we're going to line this up, take this one, line it up to the tab fold of that large tab. So you can just pop it up, fold it up, kind of move it left and right until it's in place. Once it's in place, you can go ahead and add. You'll notice I use the non-texture sides. It doesn't matter too much, really, on this side, for sure. And then we'll go ahead and continue gluing these around like we did on the other side. So I'm just going to speed through this. So I'm not going to be talking through this section. And then we'll go on to the next step after that. So now that we have this done, I'm just going to note a couple things before we go on. I'm going to go ahead and layer some of these, but if you do want to put the vellum, you can put the vellum on the inside, so it would go, to show you, here and here. You want to just add glue. I'm going to demonstrate in between, but why you'd want to do this inside, I personally don't like to have on the inside, so it's no edges are lifting up. But if for some reason this is more of a solid color, or like translucent or something like that, it's not as translucent, you can't see through as well. It's going to be harder to place it if you do it in between the layers, so to help you with the openings. So just a note, I'm not going to put it here, but if you did, you want to add glue either around the edge of this carefully and reach in, and you could have done that before we put that panel on, or just the glue around the edges of each of these pieces. I always say just glue in between, but I'll show you, you can use it similar to how I'm going to glue it, but I just wanted to note that. And other thing I may not have been clear about is the reason this is open is so you could easily do this as you go around. So I'm sure I didn't say that. Anyways, let's move on then. We won't put these on yet. Let's put those together. So I'm going to put this over here. And let's do the easy thing first, which is this. So this is the back panel. And make sure the textured side is up. I'm just going to center this. Just easier to do it now, and then we'll put it on the back when we're ready to put it on the actual house. So with this file, there are a lot of opportunities to add some embellishments like flowers and stuff like that. This video is just to show you how to do the base house. I figured there's so many flowers out there that are way better than what I can make that I'd rather just do that. So we're just going to center that. That's the back of the house. So for the shutter, you have the options to do it like this, just without a backing, or to do it in 2 layers as it's included, like that. And I did that because I kind of wanted to pop them up, and I don't want to see the pop-up tape, but you can still do that, but put a really thin layer, but it's just easier to put pop-up tape on it. So let's go ahead and put these together. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to go use my little fine tip applicator here Just go lightly around the edges. And then just like put a little dot in between. So you want to be careful because you don't want it seen. Make sure you have the correct one with the, if you're using textured paper, make sure that's up. Then line it up. Now I thought about inking it to make these more visible, but to me it's subtle, but I like the look just like that. So when the light hits it, I have a little glue in there. We'll do the second one and then we'll layer the door together. So if you want to do things as flat as possible before you put it on the house, I think most of it can be done. I'm going to add a little dimension to some clear Nouveau drops to give a look of a handle, a door handle at the end, but that's because it'll need to dry. I'll show you that at the very end. So we have those and just the door. So you want to put glue on this one with the cutout. And if you don't want this little cutout, you could always just use the one without the cutout and make it the color you want. So the file is customizable for you to change colors. So I encourage you to do so. Let's go ahead and just line it up. I'm going to kind of start towards the bottom, at the bottom of the opening as well, and just kind of get it lined up like that. So now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and take these pieces. So I talked about using, we're gonna do the vellum, but the vellum's gonna be between this and this. And you'll see I inked it too. I inked the edges a little bit because this is a printed panel, so there's a little white on the edge, and I kind of like it a little with the inked edges. So we're going to put this right here first. So you don't need to include this if you don't want to. If you don't like this top piece and you prefer just a solid, you just omit this piece. So I just trying something different with the houses, different look, without too many 3D components. That's kind of what I was going on with this. It's not getting too 3D enough in shape, but something that you can make a little bit faster. Because you know, sometimes sometimes it's fun to do a really long project, a really detailed project, like some of my trucks. But sometimes, as I recall working, I just want to be able to go and craft for a couple hours and get something done. So this is one of those things. And it takes so long. I think the longest process is just to choose the colors. And that's just me. So I didn't get that lined up as very close, but so this will go right there. So I'm paying attention because I'm using textured paper to make sure the texture's up, because I can't tell you how many times I've done that where I put the texture down. So I didn't put glue in the middle, but if we put them on now, you don't want to put the glue, but let's say you had the vellum on the background, you might want to put a couple dots. But I'm very careful when it comes to vellum because you just don't want the glue on the vellum. So I'm just kind of lining that up. And you can kind of flip it over and you can see if you have edges. I didn't line up that yellow very well so I could see the yellow. So you can do it any way you really want. It's just the gist. These tutorials are just to help you get an idea of how things go together, so you just change it the way that makes more sense to you. So I'm just lining up this little edge of the opening. You can see it a little bit more if you flip it over. So with this one, I'll show you. I made the inside frames to be the cross here to be up and down, but I suppose you could change it and make more of a cross like that if you wanted to. So I can see I got that pretty spot on because I can't see much pink around that edge right there, right there. So that's how I tell I'm in the right place. And then we'll put the door. So originally I thought of doing flowers, oops, I don't need that in the middle. About doing flowers, but I decided that I started with the idea of making it simple, so make it simple. So this is going to line up here, and also should line up right here. So it should line up with the bottom, but I'm just kind of lightly placed it. Let's see if I need to jiggle it around a little bit. Looks like I have it in the right spot though. Whenever I'm working with glue, sometimes I get it on my fingertips, so I just flip it upside down. As long as your table's clean to get the pressure, then none of the oils on my fingers will come out on the front. So what we're going to do at the very end is to add this dimensional nouveau right here, and I could show you, but most likely I'm just going to fill it, and it makes kind of a dimensional dot, just like you see kind of on the top. I always put my dots on the top, so let me show you a different color, a white one. Always put the dots on the top like that, so I know which color it is if I'm just grabbing it, so I know that one's clear. And I store them upside down. And this is going to go like this. So let me go ahead and add we're going to add those last. I changed my mind. Let's just do it right now. Let me close my glue so I don't dry it up. And I have my scissors that are just for adhesive, so this little sticky. And I'm using my Scotch foam tape that I haven't had for so long. I just bought some this year, finally, after trying to use some cheaper stuff that I didn't really like that much. What I like about this is that I like the thickness. I like the, this is the 1/4 inch, but I like the thickness, and I like how easy it is to pull off the back. So the backing is paper, whereas some other ones I used were plastic. I didn't like it. So since the shutter kind of goes like that, we want the rounded edge right here. And I'm trying to make it straight with the bottom of this. Then the same thing on the other side. See if it looks, doesn't have to look perfect. It's a house. So isn't that cute? It's just a real simple house. So now we're going to go ahead and put the vellum panels. And we can do it on this or on that. It doesn't really matter. Either one will work. So if I go like this, first I'm just going to go a little bit around the areas like that. I decided to use just plain white vellum. And then you'll see this goes like this. I'll just go like that. So I'm just going to add some glue around the corners here. Oops. Let's get into the view here. A little bit of a shadow. I'm just going to do that for now. When I sandwich them, they're not going to come up as much. So just holding it up, making sure all the area the glue is clear that I just put on. But since I'm going to sandwich it, even I didn't add glue on one side, it'll still go down because of that, because I'm going to sandwich it between 2 layers. So this one's a little bit easier. I'll just do the sides lightly. And that goes like that. Again, you can omit it. This just gives it a good glow if you put some fairy lights in there. Or you wouldn't have a small, you wouldn't want to have a very tall light in there if you want it to illuminate through those 3 windows. So here, remember I said you couldn't really see through it? Well, you can still see through here. So that's the benefit of doing it this way. It hides all this, so it's not flipping up inside the box. Otherwise it would flip inside the box. Then we can go like this. Just make sure you don't get close to the openings, just in case you have to wiggle things around to get it in place. Like that's a little bit too close for me, so I'm gonna just kind of pull it down a little bit right there. Because there's always, if you move a little bit, at least we have a little bit leeway here. So now we're just going to go ahead and flip it over. Actually, don't flip it over. Make sure that this part is, the textured side goes down like that. Let's do it this way so we can see where the openings are easily. See? And it's going to center, so you don't want the edge to line up. Sorry about that. Let me get a little bit of glue off that bottom part. So it's going to be a edge around here. So you want to line up the windows and door. Well, they're all windows, but the window in the door. And it's like that. That's the front. So before we put those on, let's go ahead and put the sides. So we have these two sides. And I'm just going to curl them. I did do a little bit of inking on them. I'm just going to put a little glue on the top and a little glue on the bottom. Now if you want to put glue in the middle you can, but we're just kind of going to curl it around the edge. So I want it to have a little gap on the top, just almost the same as the left and right. So when you start up here, see if I can show you, make sure right there. Gonna line it up, but I'm holding it lightly to make sure that I can line it up down there. So all the way down as I'm pulling, it's the same distance. So now I'm gonna, once I get it set on the top, I'm gonna pull it down. So I'm just kind of pulling it down. Oops, until, and this, I can reach in from here to apply pressure. Try to get it centered the best you can. It's going to look good no matter what. And then we'll curl the other one. Start with this side on the top. Whatever you do, if you want to start at the bottom you can, but if you start at the bottom, just make sure you do the other side. That way you know how far that you are from the edge. But it's just easier from the top. There's no hard, fast rules with crafting. So again, I'm just kind of placing it, and I'm just pulling this down to make sure that I get this in the right place. The other one was a little bit more space one side. So once I get that in place, I'm just kind of pulling this down and then looking at the left and, the gap on the left and right. And when it's kind of tight, there. And I have a little glue on my fingertip, dry fortunately. So I always try to keep a wet, like a damp paper towel, or stop and go wash your hands if it gets too bad. So I'm just making sure those are on right. So it looks like they're all set. So those are the side panels. Now we can go ahead and let's add that back panel first. So we're just going to add glue all the way around this edge. Nobody's going to see inside pretty much. I mean, if you put a gift in, which you can, a small gift card, something like candies or small gifts, something like that. They're not going to nobody really notices. We hid most of the tabs. But you want to glue this so you know where to put the glue. And I'm just going towards the edges again, make sure that's close. So around the edge, what happens when you're going on tabs like this, it kind of lifts up, so you kind of have to get as close as possible and apply a lot of pressure when you put it down. So I'm going to have this little paper towel handy. I'm just going to line this up. We have room, because it's wet glue, we have room to, little wiggle room. Let's get it lined up at the top. I'm just making sure it's lined up. Top and the bottom. I'm going to apply a little pressure first. Then I'll flip it over and reach in to apply more. Just in case there's glue, a little glue coming out, but not much. So now once you have it in place, you just set. Let's go ahead and lift. If you were to make it smaller, like the 75, this smaller version here, it'll be harder to this is a cute size, by the way. I really do like this size, but I made it a little bit bigger for a larger decoration. But remember, you can resize any file. It's easier to go down unless you go down too far. So as you start going down too far, those lines will get much smaller. So I think 50% is start. It would be hard to cut some of those lines, but you could use a solid version of the shutters. You see I use a little enamel dot there. And then we'll want to put this top one on. So you could put it on the back of the panel. I like to see how close I can get to the tabs. Actually, honestly, the only reason I do it on this most of the time is because it's like the vellum. If I do a panel, sometimes what happens is I drop the panel and then I end up getting glue in places that I don't want to get glue in. But same thing, you just kind of want to keep glue a little bit around those windows. No, this is not my little, if you want to scribble, this is a good scribble activity with glue. Okay. So, same thing, I'm just going to line it up on the top and bottom. So we're going to line it up on the bottom here. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure the tips line up at the top before I apply a lot of pressure. Make sure I didn't move it. So it looks like we have it in place. Let's go ahead and flip it over. Apply pressure. So this is going to finish the house part. And then we'll move on to the roof. So once you get this, just make sure you take the time to apply pressure. And then we have the house done. We're just going to add the roof, and then of course you could always add any embellishments after the fact. So now we have the the roof panels. There's 3 of them. See, I've already folded them and I inked them a little bit. I only inked that top one. See, with a little bit of color on the edges, just to give it a little bit of the highlights. And you can see I did this a little bit different. I only used 2 panels and used an embossing folder on it to get that texture. So you can get different looks, and you can see I used a embossing folder on that too. So with this, we want to fold it. So make sure you fold it good and well on all the score lines. You can see where it's folded, these tabs on both sides. And you know, if you need to, use a bone folder to get the thickness. I mean, not the thickness, the sharpness. And that's more likely you're going to use that when it comes to if you use solid score lines or something like that with the Cricut score tool. It just doesn't get that thick. I mean, it doesn't get that deep, the impression. For some reason I'm stuck in the word thick. So I'm going to put glue on this one tab here and just place it underneath. So we're going to do that on both sides first. So I'm just lining up this edge to the fold here. And then I'll do the other one. So this is just going to, when we put the roof panels on, it'll have an overhang, so it'll stop it from falling into the top of the house. We'll go ahead and add glue to these tabs. So we want to line up that edge to the tab fold there. Just gluing it underneath. And then on the other side, so this is a really skinny tab. When I can, I try to do it in one piece, but sometimes when I break things apart to glue together, it has to do with the tab size, and that was a skinny tab, but we're dealing with it. And then the other two tabs, so let's go ahead and fold that out, add glue to both these tabs, and then glue those underneath the edge. So let's do the skinny one first. So you can see it's making that corner there, and the other one, just make sure you hold it long enough to get it attached. So that's that. So the last step, other than if you're going to add any embellishments or additional, like I think it would be cute with flowers. Originally I had some things up here and I didn't like them. Again, I was trying to keep it simple and I was going away from it. So that's what you have. So when you do this one, the very first one, we want to add glue to, let's get this out of my light here, create a little shadow. If I go like this, I'm just going to add glue to this, but we want it to overhang on the back and front a little bit. Naturally it's going to hang on the sides because it's longer, but on the back and front, if you look at it upside down, so let's just do it upside down so you can see it. You can see it's just a little bit bigger, so we want to have an overhang. So let's see if I can do it with it. So we want a little overhang on each side. So you can see that. So it's a little bit more on the, let me see if I can, just moving it a little bit, centering it best I can. You can see that. So I did, again, it was a simple roof. It's really hard when you're not, when you feel like people expect really, I don't know, detailed SVG files, designs, and sometimes I just know a lot of people just want to do something simple. A lot of people want more. I get that. It's just the time that it takes to design it. Sometimes I'm like, you know, a lot of people want simple too. So once you have that first one on, you can just line this up each level, and it just lines up to the edge because it's the same size. So once we get this overhang done, we're good. And this last one. So there's a roof, so that's going to finish it. Let me go ahead and close my glue here so it doesn't dry up on me. So let me show you different variations now. Let's show you finished. So you could put fairy lights in. You can see it's rather large, and you can fit definitely a gift card in there easily, and some goodies if you were going to give it maybe as Mother's Day or Easter. So right there, that's the finished box. It just lifts up, and you can add whatever you want to add to there. I'm going to put some fairy lights in this one, but again, if you want a different look, so I'm actually partial to the earthy tones. So here's a more floral on the side, and I have little leaves embossing folder there, and then embossing, I should say. That was used with the embossing folder. And then I used a different swirls embossing folder on the top because I love embossing folders. And so there's the look without the vellum windows. So if you just want it for decoration, I mean, you still could put lights inside. That's up to you. And then here's the third version. Let me just put these on the back so you can see it well. Here's the third version, and this is just using the single panel without this top panel right here, and way simpler. I just made those all the same color, so it was easier to pick the colors, and I just used this as my guide, like that. So, and this is a good gift size for somebody. If you were to gift it to somebody and put something small in it, this is more like an Easter size if you weren't going to use it for decoration. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and thank you for watching.